I would like to welcome the first speaker, which is Mr. Yusuf Olatunji. What I want us to do in our contribution, identify the challenges and then suggest what are the ways out of it. But I think we need to understand where we are before we can say this is where we are going. Like I said, this conversation will be recorded and it will be shared. So thank you for listening. Thank you for coming. We appreciate you. Our first speaker, Mr. Sukola today. Thank you for coming in early, and then it is over to you.
All right. Thank you so much for having me. Once again, my name is Raheem Yusuf Rahemm. I'm the CEO of UTES Global Concept Limited. UTES Global Concept Limited is a consulting firm. We provide trainings, research, as well as manufacturing of disability inclusive assistive devices as well. So that's what we do. Double as also pass as a wheelchair user as well. So, and with my frequent travel in uh by air, I have identified a couple of challenges that we face, and in fact, in more than two locations, I have had issues with management of some airline. For instance, I had issue with Dana Airline and as well as Green Africa. So, but I want to begin by saying that we all understand what uh, transportation is all about. Um, just to remind us that is the movement of the people, and is the movement of the people, goods and services by aircraft. That is to say, either by plane or helicopters. So we can just give that simple definition for some of us, like a kind of a refreshment. So first things that I think I have identified during my course of traveling and that I've been thinking about from time to time, even the design of the aircraft itself. If you all pay attention to the design of the aircraft, because majority of the people that design aircraft, some of them, they are not people with disability. So in most cases, during their design, they do not really pay attention to accessibility features. In fact, some of the old aircrafts, some of them they do not, they are even their own in terms of accessibility, they have a very worse accessibility feature because of the fact that they do not put into considerations needs of passengers with disability. But looking at the new ones, to some extent, because some of them are even bigger in sizes, they have features that can accommodate some um, type of disabilities, not all. But most of the common challenges that we do have, like I've made mention of the design of the aircraft itself. So the first things that we have identified is if you look at the also and lavatory of the house and the lavatory of the aircraft, in most cases you can see it's always very the door always very tiny, not wide enough. Even if you are fat, not to talk about wheelchair. Let's say you're a you're a passenger that to some extent you are fat. It will be very difficult. You have to move by the side, because I've even noticed one day that when I was travel, even that time I was traveling out of the country, and that was one of our passengers. The man is very fat. He was struggling to go and use lavatory because of the fact that the door to that aircraft is not was not wide enough for him to use. So if you look at that part, it's very difficult for any passengers with disability who is on wheelchair to access that kind of door. So another thing is that if you look at most of the harsel, you realize that they have a very narrow space. And for those that having mobility challenges, especially those that are using wheelchair, if they may find it very difficult, especially the normal, the regular wheelchair. So, but there are some options that they've provided, but in most cases, especially local at the local airport, they don't always make it available. Onboarding wheelchair will have, fit in that situation, because the onboarding wheelchairs is very small. It's not as big as the regular wheelchair, which somebody that can transport any persons with disability on wheelchair that can move himself from one point from his own wheelchair to onboarding wheelchair will be able to use the hassle. But the problem is that in most cases they do not provide it. I've only used it once in Lagos. That was in Lagos, and since that time, they've not even. I used to complain. I used to tell them, "You have these things. Why is it that you don't always make it available?" But I've used it once. That was maybe like 5 years ago. So since that time, even though they will have sometimes they have to carry me, But I'm a man, and a women with disability may not really want. I mean, a woman with disability may not want to entertain that. So in order for them to, to prevent a kind of molestation or any form of thing that may not really be proper. So, and that is the challenge. That I'm talking. If you look at that now, you can see it's very, very challenging. Another thing that I've identified, though I've made mention of accessible toilet in the aircraft, then another thing is signage. If you look at most of our airports in Nigeria, they have a very poor signage. It's very even difficult, except, let me say, in Lagos, you have it in Lagos, you have it in Abuja, and you also have it in, I think, Abia too. I was in Abia, yeah, yes. No, I think I'm not sure of that. When I remember, they have, in fact, they even have space, a parking space for the wheelchair, because it's a new airport, and those that designed that airport, they actually put in place many accessibility features. And when I got there, like 2 years ago, I traveled to Imo. Yes, I think it's in Owerri Airport. Yes, I remember. So, and I love the way they designed that airport, because there are parking space for those that are using wheelchair or any form of disability. There are the signage is also very, very good. So, but not applicable to Ibadan Airport. For instance, now, if you go to Ibadan Airport, in fact, the place is not even. In fact, they do not even have accessible toilets for those that for the people, for passengers with disability in Ibadan Airport. But in Lagos, they have that. So you can see that is one of the challenges. Then another very important challenges that we have to look at is that most of the staff that work, they do not even they lack inclusive, or what I would call disability inclusive etiquette, professional. So some of them, they do not know how to relate, how to communicate with passengers with disability. As a result of that, in most cases, you do have problem with them. In fact, even they are while addressing you, some of them feel as if you are a burden to them. So, and that makes it very, very difficult. Except sometimes if you are not patient enough, it can result in a fight or some other thing like that. Then another thing that I've identified is, there is no proper information support in most of our airports, and that in itself is a serious challenge, because now, for a passenger with hearing impairments, now, if care is not taken, you find it difficult to even access the right information and support, because there is no let's say like I have cited Lagos, for instance, Lagos Airport, Murtala Mohammed Airport. then you will realize that, let's say you have the signage. Then when you go there, as a deaf, I remember there was a time we were going for a programs, and I met a deaf a passenger with hearing impairment. We knew each other, and immediately he saw me. He came to greet me, and I was asking what is the problem and all of that. He was trying to look for somebody that will even communicate, because the truth of the matter is that they changed the time, and the problem, they did not even send the SMS to notify that. So he was worried whether the time of the ticket is this or they've changed it. But unfortunately, he was worried because he was thinking it's already late. Then on getting there, they've changed it without even sending a message like SMS to notify. He cannot. There is, you can hardly see any of these staff, yep, that understand the sign language interpretation. So some of them, they do not understand sign language. But they can communicate well if you receive messages, maybe by as SMS or email on time. So you'll be able to know what to do. So in that area, I think most of our airports in Nigeria, they have that issues, and it's part of the challenges I've also faced over time. Then another thing that we have identified is, which is very, very important, is the booking. In most cases, if you look at why you have, if you want to book, I've tried a couple of times to book my for myself instead of using agents. So, and if you want to book, if you look at the terms and conditions, you can see you have is a very, very voluminous. And if you are not patient enough to go through all these policies, it will be very difficult. You may not even find, because the point where I'm driving at is that there are some, airline that have their own policy, and some of their policies sometimes is against the discrimination against persons with disability prohibition and acts. Do you get it? So, and that is our challenges. Let me share one of the very sad story with you. There was a time I booked a ticket from Lagos to Abuja, and that, I think, is 2023, Dana Airline to be precise. And while I was booking, I forgot to actually check the term and condition. So I booked. I thought, because I've flown with them a couple of times, more than 5 times. So I did not know that they've actually changed their policy, especially for people with disability. So because I used to them often, so I didn't even bother to check whether they have updated it. No information to my email or nothing that they've updated the. So I thought it's the old term and conditions. So while I booked the ticket, my ticket was scheduled for 6 p.m. in the evening. And because as an accessibility consultant, I also want to experience, I'm coming from Ibadan. So I also want to, experience the railway transportation. So I decided to say, instead of going by car, let me go and use rail. Then, so that I want to study if there's some accessibility issues and all of that. So that day I left home as early as 8 a.m. and I got to Lagos by I got to the airport, to precise, by 11 a.m. And don't forget that my flight was scheduled for 6 p.m. So on getting there, I was even interacting with some of their staff, and I decided that while I'm returning back, I don't want to come by night, so let me just change my. I don't want to come by evening flight. Let me just change my tickets. So I also pay for the changing of the time. So, and when it's time for me to fly, that's 5:55. They told me that they cannot fly me. I said, why? They said, because I do not have, I supposed to go with an aide, somebody that will assist me and all of that. I said, but this is not the first time I've been flying with you. Why is this sudden change? They said that they've updated because they had issue of recent, they've updated their policies that they can no longer. And I have a very very important meeting with one of the an international organization the following morning. So that issue resorted to almost resorted to a fight, and while we are arguing and all of that, the one of the Navy staff officer, you know, intervene. And they asked me that they're going to reschedule me, that I have to look for a way of getting an assistance. I said, do you want me to pay for another assistant now? Looking at this economy, does that make sense that you're supposed to provide all the necessary assistance for the passengers with disability, not me buying another ticket when that person is not necessary or is not important for my meeting, when I've been traveling for over 15 years. But now that you are now bringing these issues and all of that, but at the end of the day, I wrote them, I sent them email that if they do not, do the right things, I'm going to sue them. So I even copy human rights commissions, national disability commissions, and all of people. But they also told me that they are very sorry that at that time that they do not have any male staff that can assist me. That all their staff at that time we were all females. So and they understand that I'm a man, so it may be very difficult for them to assist me. So it was very, very serious. It was the following morning that I have to travel by 6. I have to find a way, that affected my time because I've already paid for my hotel in Abuja. So you can see some of the problems I've experienced and the wastage of time and even money as well. So they almost ruined that meeting because if not because of God that the people I had to explain to them and they later agreed that we should go ahead with the meeting. So what am I saying in essence is that when there is no proper information channel, dissemination to people, it can cause a lot of problem in our aviation sector. Another very important thing that I think we also need to look at, this is has to do with persons with disability themselves. I think there's need for us as persons with disability, especially those of us that are into engineering, to start looking at how do we ensure that how do we ensure that we start, innovating ideas that are going to provide solution to most of these problems. Because where the know where in pinches, most of these people they do not have disabilities, and sometimes they may not even look at our side because they are not feeling the way we are feeling. So there is need for us as persons with disability, for some of us that are interested in this area of engineering, to start looking at how do we come up with solutions that will also accommodate some of our needs. So they often identify some of the problem that we are facing. I believe that I believe that if we look at all these problems, you know, we can actually address them without issues. So let me also add one important issues that I've actually experienced, and I think I've talked about it briefly. Is negative attitude toward persons with disabilities. Sometimes when the staff see you, the first time without even they will actually they have this way that as if disability is a distance. Sometimes they will look at you as if you are not very important to them. However, there are some of them that understand issue relating with people with disability, and most times they do so empathy and sympathy towards persons with disability. So, and another very important thing is I will have to add to these challenges will be that inconsistency policy sometimes. I do not think it makes sense for any policies, either from aviation sector or from any to override the heart of it, I mean the law of a country. So I think government also need to wake up to start looking at how can you have a policy that is against the law of the country. It doesn't make sense. So, and I do understand that in aviation there are some precautionary measures, there are some safety measures they have to put in place in order to prevent on accidents and all of that due to some of it. But however, all these things can be addressed without necessarily, with accommodation of the needs of passengers with disability. So, let me now, I've raised some of the problem. I think it is also very important for me, as an entrepreneur who will also have very important, who will also passionate about
Hello, Mr.
issues.
Olatunji, Yusuf.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you will have another 2 or 3 minutes to give us the cost of time.
Okay.
So I've taken note of all the things that you have said, and these are issues that have been there for some time. And thank you because you are sharing your personal experience, which is actually important now.